as a university is to create deep learners. Because they are the ones who will be the real change agents outside. I mean, and I don't want to boast about this, but yesterday we went to this St. Gregory's Club. They just opened yesterday. And all the people who came, more than 60, 70 people there, all from St. Gregory's. And all of them are change makers in society. And I felt good that the education I got at St. Gregory's, which was not about rote learning, it was about doing a lot of things in classroom. And please understand, there's another thing that I picked up in Kuala Lumpur, another conference. They're saying, age learning, amar ekhane ashe for 4 years, the students. What percentage of their life are they in the higher education system? If someone lives for 80 years, 4 years is only 5% of their lifetime. So what they're saying that cannot transform them fully. So you must engage for lifelong learning, and you must engage them for non-formal learning. Jemon, why do the Western world have this advantage over us? Because their children from early age, they're not just going to school, they're going to the museum, they're going to the zoo, they're going to the botanical gardens, they're going for a trip somewhere. The learning is immense amount of learning. I see my grandchildren. I've got 4 grandchildren by the grace of God. And I see already the kind of engagements that they're having in their schools. My first 2 ones, the second 2 are very young, 1.5 and 6 months old. But the older 2 granddaughters, you know, at age of 5 or 6, they're talking about a transpiration. He is explaining to me condensation, and then demonstrating to me a window. Nana condensation. This is condensation, and the vocabulary is there. And I'm saying, my God, at her age, did not do all of this stuff. So this constant engagement, not just in the classroom, but find ways to engage them. Go and find something out. Go and read this newspaper article. Go and read that book. Go and summarize that. Now you're engaging them. That is the deep learning. So these are the active learners. Student engagement, if you engage them, they will be active learners. That is my hypothesis. So this presentation is about engagement leads to active learning. Now, engagement key level, and this is my model, by the way. I'm working with someone who used to teach at Kuwait University, and he's now just moved back to USA. So we're doing some cross-cultural things. You know, as Vice Chancellor, I can only ask my faculty to do research if I can show that I'm doing research also. So if I make a demand on them, then they'll say, "Apne ki kortechen?" So I have to show by writing books and other things that, no, I'm asking you to do things that are suitable for the university. That's the thing. So this engagement, let me see, how do you engage students in the classroom? Any thoughts? Quick thoughts. How do you engage?
Classwork, tasks.
Classwork, tasks, okay. Tarpore, any other things?
Collaborative problem solving.
Peer to peer, একটা হতে পারে। একটা হচ্ছে self learning হয় যেটা, homeworks, read this chapter, think about this question and so forth. একটা হচ্ছে in class, group work, peer to peer learning. আরেকটা হচ্ছে teacher engagement. টিচারের যদি ছাত্রের সাথে এনগেজমেন্টটা না থাকে, তাহলে কিন্তু you're missing one piece of it. So my model says there are 3 levels of engagement, and we can craft it in other ways also. One is the student interaction, so reading assignments, lecture notes, এগুলো পড়ে আসো, etc. One is the interaction with each other, class discussion, online, group assignments, study groups, etc. This is taken from another literature, but this becomes my model for engagement. And the student interaction with faculty, to feedback on assignments. অনেক সময় feedback পায় না ছাত্ররা, assignment দেওয়া হচ্ছে, project দেওয়া হচ্ছে, no feedback. Class discussion, formative estimate, etc. Office hours তো অনেক সময় I'm hearing across the country যে হচ্ছে কিন্তু অফিসে পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না. What we do at BRAC University is I want all faculty members to post their office hours. And I don't want to be policing them. This should come from them internally. But অনেক সময় হয় না. So then you have to find those individuals and ask for it. And often it is on a legitimate grounds. আজকে transportation পাই নাই অথবা অসুস্থ ছিলাম. And we work with that. But I think what we need to do is to find ways in which they maintain office hours. These things, I came up with a very simple linear model, that active learning will be affected by self-engagement, peer engagement, and teacher engagement. Before I go to the result, let me ask you, which do you think, all three of them are useful, but which do you think has the most impact on active learning? How many of you think self-engagement gives the most learning? All right, I see some hands, 1, 2, 3. নিজে পড়ে নিজের উন্নতি করার জন্য they are doing a lot of this thing. Active learning. Number 2, how many of you think it's peer-to-peer we learn a lot? Okay. We learn from all three, but which do you think has the greatest impact? Third one হচ্ছে teacher engagement. Teacher fully heart and soul ক্লাসে পড়াচ্ছেন, শেখাচ্ছেন, engage করছেন. Alright, so I see the most of you are saying teacher engagement. Really? You don't agree? Teacher engagement, এখানে measurement is on a scale. So there's high scale hole, high engagement hobe. Low on the scale hole, low engagement hobe. So basically, if this model comes, I just want to explain to you how they were measured. Each of these were opposite variables. So basically, active learning by self-learning was in the class where you made to write clearly, accurately, where you made to think critically, where you're learning on your own, exploring knowledge. This is all self-learning. This thing had an alpha level of 886. Alpha is a measure of reliability. It's called also Cronbach's alpha for those of you know this. Okay, very good results. Self-engagement যেটা I looked at আগেরটা কি ছিল? আগেরটা তো ছিল this is the active learning thing. And the independent variables, the self-engagement was what you made to describe, what you made to analyze, what you made to synthesize, what you made to evaluate. Self-learning হচ্ছে কিনা সেটার alpha was 0.879. Then we looked at peer engagement. ওই লালগুলো factor analysis সময় বাদ হয়ে গেছে, সেজন্য ওগুলো লাল. So the 4 that were enrolled worked with other students, worked with classmates outside, tutored or taught class materials, evaluated peer assignments. This is all, I look at this as peer engagement. And the third thing I look at was teacher engagement. Did the teacher give you access to rubrics? Did they provide strategies for material, ask specific questions, given feedback, encourage you to solve problems, inspired you to work, etc. Eighter দেখা যাচ্ছে the alpha was 0.93. So this was a very highly reliable measure. So with that, the methodology we used, so now I'm going to reveal BRAC University to you. And basically use a survey instrument. I brought it with me. Maybe if you want to do it here, I can share this with you. You can do a repeat of this data and we can do some comparisons. Sampling was purposive, and we engaged about 150 students. These were mainly in the big traffic areas like the laboratories, like the cafeteria and all those people. So analysis, all of these done. Most of you know these, so I will not explain these. Means and standard deviation aage dekhi amra. So look at what we found. Mean was 3.33 on a scale of 5. This is something that gives me, when I go to my faculty, say, look, you got to improve your active learning. Okay, look at the standard deviations. The standard deviation for peer and teacher engagement is very high. So if you have a mean of 3.25, what this is saying is that there are on this side, teacher engagement in nine. Then you see a lot on the other side that they are beginning to understand. I don't know if you know this, we have a PDC, a Professional Development Center, and all faculty members are required to be certified in pedagogical tools or pedagogical tools. So we have developed and are operationalizing it now. So this is the findings on active learning and the independent variables. Here's the finding of the regression results. The model summary says the R square was almost 62%. So the self-engagement, peer engagement, and faculty engagement is explaining 62% of one's active engagement with the educational process. If you look at the regression model, you can see quickly look at standardized question. The best teacher engagement has the biggest impact on student active learning. As you can see from here also that all variables are significant. So it means that all to impact active learning. And this is a model that I want to extend later on by bringing in all these other factors that you said, economic, social circumstances, demographics, and so forth. Maybe it will give us even further insight. But you know, any research you do, you start simple, then you start building it. That's known as the start to build somewhere and then say, oh, arki hote parto. Then you explore, examine this. So now I move fast. What are the things that we've already got in this last hour, 2 hours? We've been, now 2 hours come, 3 hours ago. How did 3 hours go by? So I must have been engaging you. So be an engaging teacher, and ekhane list apnara banate parben. This is just one way of really looking at it. But these are the best practices. Be helpful and approachable. Show respect for your students. Safe environment. It's a safe environment. This is a very important concept. Chhatrara, they must feel safe to be able to interact with you. They must not feel যে ওনার কাছে আসলে আবার প্রশ্ন করলে আবার আমার গ্রেড ড্রপ করবে নাকি কি হবে না হবে, এরকম অনেক রকম আশঙ্কা আছে তার মধ্যে। সেই থেকে আমাদেরকে একটু বেরিয়ে যেতে হবে। Principles of engaged learning, I think একটা হচ্ছে learning through collaboration, which is your group work and all that. It should emphasize team efforts, communication, management, planning, social skills. এগুলো আপনাদের আছে, নোটসে আছে। If you have some other opinions, we can look into that later. When students are able to discuss and defend their ideas, motivation to learn increases. This goes back to 1998 when this research was done, and I think that has not been refuted yet. So this is something that we need to attend to. Principles of engaged learning. Arekta hocche project-based approach. I'm just highlighting two. You know, there are many more. Activities should be creative and purposeful. I would like to do another exercise, but maybe I will leave that to you now. if in your majors, if you're marketing, get together in marketing, if you're in finance, get together in financing, not now, but this is an assignment for you that you will turn into your dean someday, maybe in a week's time. A creative engagement gulo in your majors, what is possible? Share it with the dean. Dean will give you some feedback on how to make the classes more engaged. I think it's a very, very important thing. When students have these opportunities to define, organize, complete the projects, they develop a sense of ownership of the project and of their own learning. Most important, Jeta, I noticed, and I will say this, but it does not make me happy, is আমাদের দেশে অনেক মাস্টার্স থিসিস হয়, মাস্টার্স PhD thesis হয়, but hardly any of these get converted into journal articles or papers. I think this is one of the biggest failures of our higher education system, where we are talking about research, but we are not being able to get this knowledge that is produced through these MPhil and MA and all these into something more tangible that says that this has resulted in some publications. If you look at this Stanford University, they use all these ways in which they engage active learning. From case method থেকে শুরু করে coach problem, collaborative learning, Google Plus Hangout, they go in there and do some collaborative stuff, guided discovery, just in time, etc. All kinds of things they do. Just in time হচ্ছে you give them a problem and they solve it, and as they're working on it, okay, they are getting response feedback, so forth. So characteristics of effective teachers already have discussed earlier on. I think one of the things I would like to emphasize before I go is that lectures alone will not do. You cannot, I think there's still, majority of the classrooms are still reliant on lectures. Maybe 80-90% of the classes are still doing full lectures, nothing else. And you can see why. They create rote learning, allows engagement easily, personal typologies we did, they're different. Issue of remedial students, how do you address them? Because lectures are not really reaching them. What are some other issues? আরো অনেক কিছু আছে এর মধ্যে, যেমন ক্লাসে ডিস্ট্রাকশনস হয় অনেক সময়, because last bench বসে they are not doing anything. They're lecturing, they're passing notes to each other, they're sharing other things in there. They're completely disengaged. You have to question last bench also. Tomar opinion, you bring them into the classroom, and now they are beginning to be engaged. So the idea of reaching students, I think, largely, if we think about it, the idea is to create active learners. But it is not done just in a larger context. It requires institutional resources. Tarmane, what I do is, what I am thinking of doing at Brack University also is, those faculty members who show propensity to do active learning, I know that it requires much more time for them to do. So I might actually work in giving them course releases, just so that I want to see how this works, if they're effective or not, and if so, then we will institute that as a policy at Brack University. You need a supportive institutional culture, clear defined mission and vision, which I showed you earlier on how that connect these students, need a strategic plan, and you need to have activities. So what works in the classroom, active learning at journal, learning, learn approach, take it away. Manek, change the school culture, peer modeling করা যায়, autonomy in the learning process. These challenges but balancing with the ability level. And strategies, we may have to make some adjustment. So, what will we see if all goes well? This is some of the thoughts of my co-vice chancellor, who is his background is in institutional effectiveness. So I brought him from USA. He was working for Google, and before that he was in an administrative position in a university. He's here in the South for 3 years, and very, very dynamic. I'm learning a lot. So one of the things he says is that if all goes well, we'll see intellectual growth, we'll see individual growth, active engagement, and creation of control. So in a nutshell, that's the end of our presentation. I can see so many of you are happy. That was good. But what we can do is, I've been asked to go till maybe 1 o'clock, but we don't have to. But let's do some Q&A. And I want to just briefly talk about research after we close this. So if there are any final questions or comments that you may have, this is the time to talk about.
Learning. Why somebody could make slides and present those things in the class, which is the paper that they will on the lecture. Slide presentations and those things. But in the case of active learning, you should have rules. Now somebody already wants to question. How we will evaluate those things. They don't have slides and they just have the slides.
Yeah, I think if you're really interested in seeing the advancement of students, you must share everything, not the slides. Your materials, the notes, everything else. You know, in fact, what they're doing in USA now, I'm seeing at schools, at school level, and everything is working on Google. Google has so many applications, educational applications now, it's unbelievable. So they are doing, all notes are on the Google Drives, all the PowerPoints on the Google Drive, all the assignments are done to Google and they can check at home. The term papers, everything is integrated into this one Google platform. I don't know how many of you have explored Google, but Google educational the whole thing, where your university has to register with Google. It's all free. But once you register with them, they open up a plethora of tools that may be important for you to take into account. And I think you can give them many more enhancement tools. That's the one thing.
Seeing the social construction process of academic programs, especially in private universities, we are also somehow controlled, meaning our trimester system, and also we cannot avoid some realities, which we can say painful realities, like dating and making ourselves, yes, our students are doing better to make more attractive to us for the future students. And you mentioned that you brought changes with this of higher education in private universities. Can we also get these concepts into your, because I think problem changes in this sort of structural process of academic program, especially in private institutions.
We cannot see changes that are step functions. So basically what that means is we have to engage. We have to engage with those who, as you said, control us in some form or other. I think we have to sell them the benefits of what we are trying to do. As a result, we should seek we should invite them to our classes and see, look, this is what we're doing, this is how it is. Solving problems, this is how we're doing new things in the country. You know, if classroom is just about lectures and grades and a certificate, then you are in that same old mind. I think at Prague University we've invited people from various areas. When we brought Annasha, we brought in the UGC chair, we brought in the Science and Information Technology Minister. We did it in a way to also show them that Prague University is breaking new ground. I think you must expose to the relevant stakeholders what you're doing. One thing we do is we work with the media to get things out there. So you will see some story about Prague or Prague University almost on a regular basis in the media. That also gives an idea to them that Prague is doing new things, doing different things. So for example, one of our students went to Math Olympiad in previous year. So they're seeing that our students are not just doing grades, but they are being sent to Olympiad. I don't know if you know the HULT competition. HULT competition is an entrepreneurship idea that it is global. And in Shanghai we became the number one. And then there were only 5 were sent to New York for a $1 million prize. And who was in that 5? We had Cambridge University there and some other high universities in there. And we were there also. So these are things I think you have to tell your students that it's not just about classroom engagement. I think the personal feeling it should be about maybe 30 to 40%. Other 60% clubs and social activities and so forth, because I repeat to my faculty every other day that you will do 3 things. One is collaboration, because the world is very complex. You work within the department, you work between departments, you work between universities, and in fact, if UI wants to work with us, we should look for avenues in which our business school students and yours can work, our faculty can work with it. Why don't our faculty work with each other? It's always a question for me, because you go abroad, you'll see a research paper, 3 names, one from Princeton, one from Champaign, one from Syracuse University. They are collaborating, working. The second thing I ask them is innovation. Do things different, new. Change things. If you keep doing the same things, you keep repeating that social construct, and it becomes embedded more and more. If you want to break out of it, you have to innovate. I don't know if you know about the architecture department. We just brought in a faculty member who graduated from MIT, Adnan Moshe. He came here in about 3 months' time. He's changed the total landscape of architecture. Icon Museum of Rivers. I don't know if you've read about it. He's started a museum for rivers. He's just started a center for inclusive architecture. So what I'm saying to you is 2 different things. Pharmacy department, we have a very dynamic head. She is leading all of this, and she is doing industry collaborations continuously. So the computer sciences, you see, that has moved us into space. It's been very expensive, but I think we have to continue that. Unless you bring in new dimensions to the university, and it is not inexpensive, you have to invest. It is not about just how much students you are, sort of having, how much you are charging them. social impact. So to give you an idea, our chess club, this is our students, they go to Korai, you know what that is, and they are teaching their little children of the university how to play chess. After electrical engineering, you can do something, you can upgrade quality of our technical people who work with electrical systems. Give them a free 1 day a week for 5 days and upgrade. Upskilling Jeta. Our university is not engaging with these and other constituencies. Once you begin to do this, you will see your university will open up. Now you will have a voice with the government and UGC that we are doing this thing, you must help us. So, and we have gotten a lot of help from UGC. So, not just because I know Professor Mannan, but because he sees the value addition of the system. You must position yourself as a university that is adding value to society. Then you will have, and that is what our chairperson is always involved in. So Fazli Hassan always has built his name and everything on social impact. So then it translates down into the university. So what kind of social impact? Alright, so Mr. Rahman is next.
Sir, একটা governance সম্বন্ধে একটা প্রশ্ন ছিল, governance seat on the table, for example. আমাদের তো stakeholder students-ও আছে, parents-ও আছে, but do they have a seat on the table in terms of the BOT? Who are trustees?
The students.
And the parents?
Not yet, but I believe that we should find some way to involve them. I think you may have seen somewhere that I have said in the public domain that students should be involved in curriculum design. They should be involved in recruitment of faculty, which in a way giving them a voice in the system. I don't know if it was accepted wholeheartedly, and I think there may be some issues there. But if you look at the Europeans, the European universities that I have spoken with on a regular basis, they don't do anything without engaging the students. The students are part and parcel of all major decisions because they're saying the students are the major stakeholders. They must have a voice. So, any other questions? All right. Thank you. I don't know what to do. There was a little piece on research, and let me just talk about it just for 5 minutes. Did you get that? Yeah, research report. This is for those who want to do research and those who want to build a career in research. I think at Brand University we are thinking of another thing. We are thinking of 2 tracks. One track for those who just don't want to do research, and there are many who are very happy not doing research, and that's not a bad thing. If you can learn these different pedagogies and have a great classroom where you are really influencing students, that's a choice you have to make within the mission and vision of the university. Then a second track I want to see is of those who are doing research, who is doing quality research, publishing in Scopus ranked journals. They are being thought of as being given a lot of financial incentives. They are being given course releases. In fact, what we are saying is a faculty member can buy out their time, in the sense that if you bring enough high research grant, then the portion that you give to the university, we do charge an overhead. ওই portion দিয়ে যদি একজনকে recruit করা যায়, then you can buy out your, then you don't have to teach them entire, or you can buy out 1 or 2 or 3 courses. So I would think that the great researchers who can go and bring funds for the university and build a research enterprise, They should have the option to get course releases, they should have the option to enjoy part of the money for themselves, and they should be given the freedom to, build a center of excellence. So we are building those centers, the inclusive architecture, we have Center for Entrepreneurship Development, we have Center for C3ER, Center for Climate Change and Environmental Research, and like that we have in the institutes, we have a few centers, electrical engineering as a part, which is about, again, doing some environmental related research. So these things have to evolve. I think there's a story that Sir Fazle Hassan told me last year, that he was talking to a researcher in Canada who was looking at some 300 or 400 organizations that existed in Czechoslovakia, and which ones of them are alive now. And the answer was only 2 institutions of those are business enterprises. 19 of them were universities. There's like Heidelberg, Oxford, Cambridge, Sorbonne, Harvard. These are all 400 years old. Longer actually, Sorbonne is 700 years old. Heidelberg is even older. How have they survived? Because they have worked through time and addressed the needs of society. That is what made them. So that is his vision, that nothing of Brand survives, Brand University can survive. As a knowledge enterprise, as was navigated through time and space, giving solutions to society. These are the visions that under which we work. And I think these are great visions. And once we have these things in place, these can inspire you to do that. Right?
Research methods, methodology for giving very close to idea and others. But what about academic writing? Do you think there is lacking here? Academic writing?
Yeah, academic writing very much needs help. So basically what you do is, practically we have a writing center. So what we have done is we have encouraged our faculty to share the first draft with the academic and see and get something out. I think you can build some writing centers here, where if you're doing research, you can get it vetted first. I also do another thing. I get all the manuscripts to Turnitin to make sure that to protect the reputation of our university. That's the first thing. So if there's anything in there that is not cited or not done properly, upon we advise the faculty members that we find something disconcerting in our writing. But if they publish and then we find this, then they're in trouble. I can assure you that, because again, it affects the reputation of the institution. You just saw what happened in our university. So this is not acceptable. Okay, so this research, if I can we borrow this from you very briefly. Very briefly. I think the main point is in the last page, where I say that what leads to the rejection of manuscripts. It is not an easy process, particularly if you are going to submit to the peer-reviewed with the journals. Then you will see that here are some reasons why your manuscript can be rejected. It has no theory in it. It has concepts in there that are not well defined and not well operationalized, insufficient definitions. Conceptual clarity, papers. You must know clearly what you are working with. My PhD thesis was on trust, astha. trust and its impact in channels of distribution. I think if you go and look at citations, one of the papers from the dissertation is more than 850 citations. Because I spent almost 6 months understanding what this concept of trust is. It is a very wide, large concept, and you know that in life so much is driven by trust. So, I took it from, personally I took it from an episode of our prophet who was left with some gold by his enemies because they knew that they would get it back in full measure. So that sort of impacted me that the value of enemy of government has actually because they trust me. So that has significant economic, social, cultural value. And one of my theoretical things was we do things when we are dependent on somebody else, right? Let's say in your job, you're dependent on the admin. So whatever they say to you, you will do because you're dependent on them. Now, issue is, will what you do be different if you trust them or if you don't trust them? So if I made that paper was very highly cited. And I think you should ask yourself from your real life, what are some crucial things that need answers? Pahले apna bande koi no theories are theories are. And once you have the theory, you see there are a lot of issues when people say that apna university is the apna equation is theoretical. They do not understand that everyone who does something in life does from some personal theory. Why you come to the university? Because you have a personal theory that will allow you to get a better job. There is a theory behind every action. In fact, theory and practice are two sides of the same coin. In fact, if you have a poor theory, it will not work, it will come back to you and you revise your theory. So, theory and practice are not two different things, this is what I want to say. Therefore, when you do research and you are saying, theory is what then you are not understanding the essence of the research. There must be some theoretical basis for it. There must be this macro structure on it. Articles actually, I don't even know where this is going. So, if you want to be in the publication game, you know that this has evolved over time. So they're looking for some things. They're looking at the beginning and introduction. They're looking for an objective, what are you trying to solve. They're looking for your methodology. They're looking for your results and findings. How did you analyze the data? Then you go for your conclusion. You get the macro structure. It's not like you will follow. As a result, immediately the keyboard will work. Otherwise it will not work in the realm of general evidence. Inadequate research design on it, we do a lot of the research I see here is still based on convenient samples, for example. Or much of the research is done based on very simple analysis. Mean median the bar chart, pie diagram, and many people think that is very high quality research. In fact, those are the fundamentals that you must know before you can go into at least some model. Another descriptive research on a machine. You must go into inferential research. When you have a hypothesis and then you go on and get the data, test it and say either it was accepted or rejected. So we got the research design topic not relevant to the field of the journalist's interest. I can article it, randomly apply journalist particular article. Before you send an article to journal, review the journal to see whether they get recognition, what they really address. So you must be familiar with the journals in which you want to publish, otherwise you get a higher rejection rate. Over-engineering, all of you know what that means, right? What does over-engineering mean? Total problem, into one chester table they worry about it. The real editor knows that this is a game you're playing, and so you don't do that. Our more important thing is the conclusion is not aligned with the rest. Your objective actually is and 11, cutting up the data. You have when they are doing research, they collect more data than what they need. Why? Because they are thinking, I will write 2, 3, 4 papers out of it. This research becomes very jumbled up. It has too much in it. The respondent survey after 1/3 of the survey, it was a number not even reading anything. Now you have what is called non-sampling error, measurement error. So it was the you will not be able to publish high quality articles. So if you're doing a study, we focus. Our data I showed you. It's a 2-page question, in which only the 4 elements are active learning, measure problem, tissue demographics, I think that's about it. But other than that, we just focus on the 4 constructs and we run on. So these are some issues I think that are very important for you to understand if you want to do publications. This is for you. If you have so many questions on research, this is actually, I see myself more as a researcher than as an administrator. So I'm more into researchers and others. Dr. Musa knows that very well. Since I've done how many research workshops, particular research. And in my introduction, one of you said that I was with East West University and now Bragg University. I've also been involved with IUB. IUB when they were under Dr. Majid Khan. It was not even an entity, and I helped there. In fact, I spent 1 year of my sabbatical at IUB also. That was before East West. And ULab have done some research methods, workshops. Not South Asian, I have had some involvement in the early days. I have great association with the private university system. And when I'm done from here, I want to write that book on how we build private universities in the world. And a lot of it.
Teachers on research, one of the sources emerald, which were there. What about the local context? Would you feel that better again for instance, that they have done something which we don't get much?
Local context local journals.
Software research data. We will put the balance.
Most of my research that you will find is on local. Like Bangladesh about a lot of my studies.
But these are available obviously in the books peer-reviewed data.
Because I targeted always peer-reviewed journals.
What about the rest for not doing that? They have done such a thing. Like you want to do research, how do you go and find them? What would be your take on that? And after that, we should only look at this peer-reviewed and see whether they are available.
If you want to establish a reputation as a researcher, you must publish in peer-reviewed journals.
My question is not very clear. Like, for example, I want to do some research on this university or banks in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So, many of the things are not available in the report. So, where do you get the data or the context of it to begin with? Understand the local perspective.
I think the local data, this is Bragg University, again we are creating databases. So, but I think it is also open. So you can go into the fact university library and find it. Akon, by the way, with UGC doing this thing on, they're doing this BT grant, have you heard of BT grant? Bangladesh Research and Educational Network. So they are making access available to all universities. Akon shuru hoyni, all the public universities have been connected to the network. And I think these databases have to be built. The only problem is that many of our journals are really not journals. I'll give you an example. At a journal, the land issue thake, climate change issue thake, Rabindranath's upar ekta iye thake, is it a journal? So what I've done at Pratt University to hochilo jala. I've split the journal into two, Part A and Part B. Part A is for engineering and sciences, Part B is for social sciences and business. At least there is some harmony there. But if you mix everything up into a journal, it is not only a journal, it will never be in any of the indexes, and if you cite that journal, it's not really okay? Maybe you had a question. Very good question. Question answer, we don't get exposed to the advanced research methods. And I think this is one of the fundamental problems of our higher education system. Our as lecturers from various universities, I can see how deficient they are. So even if you're writing a thesis in an MPhil or a master's program, I said a little while ago that none of these are publishable in any mainstream journal or any kind of quality journal. You asked a very fundamental question. The universities jara masters kore the research methodology training is very weak, which is one of the reasons in the National Higher Education Policy I was asked to write a chapter on research, and I have asked for 3 or 4 research universities. If you look at Malaysia, they have just transformed 5 universities into research universities. China is building the C9. C9 they want to build universities like the Ivy Leagues. India has just approved 5 public and 5 private sector research universities. And their fundamental work will be research tied to the national agenda, and they will be producing masters and PhD class who will be able to really produce knowledge. I don't think we still have built a research culture. And I asked an important question the other day to some other academics. Then what happens? So the answer was that as long as the momentum is there, we researchers then they fall into the mold of whatever happens in Bangladesh. They never pursue that. I think these are things we need to change. And again, I don't blame them because Jyoti Okanthike research foundation is one of the heavy loads on teaching and administrative work and all of that stuff. when is the time to do so? So, but Jara, passionate researcher, they will find. That much I can, if you given my time, I found time to at least publish one article a year while I was and my book. So, you know, that's not because of any other reason, but because I want to. Not because I have to do it. So, then, I think we have done a lot, and I think I appreciate this that you have spent all this time on a Saturday morning. I did not want to do this, but believe me, I just cannot get any other time. Thursday I tried, but this every day the external demands will assess them economic weightages. So, and this is one of them. So I have to give up my sleep and other endeavors. But I think I'm making a contribution to higher education. That's what is important. Thank you all. I think we have a wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Now, we would like to have some session remarks from our dean, sir, as well as you also present memento to sir, But I have just one request to you. Please, before you leave the room, could you please fill out this feedback form and drop it by the box on your way out. So, our honorable dean,
Thank you very much, Professor Andali, for your excellent presentation. I do believe our faculty has learned a lot, and I personally have learned a lot. This as a token of our appreciation for taking time and come to us.
I